This is Hannibal from The Hannibal TV on YouTube with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. Apparently, as I discussed briefly in a news update yesterday, some people were speculating AJ Styles might be going to AEW. Apparently, no. He's signed on with WWE to continue as a producer. He's happy with his wrestling career, even though he could probably make a lot more money in wrestling. But I guess he's well enough off, and he's satisfied with his producer's pay. So anything can happen in wrestling. Very few wrestling retirements are legit. But for now, it looks at least like he's going to stay on behind the scenes. Also, another wrestler, there's a ton of wrestlers in AEW that are rarely, if ever, used. Donovan Danhausen, who does like a Conan O'Brien parody gimmick with makeup, he's one of the ones that was signed back in 2022, and he's only wrestled like a handful of times, which is awesome to get paid to do nothing. But at the same time, I'd rather have that than a regular job, but I could see how it would be depressing for people. They sign and then they just do nothing. Anyways, apparently WWE is interested in him, and he's still on AEW's website, but his contract is likely going to expire soon, and he'll be over in WWE. He's 35 years old. Apparently for now, for WrestleMania, it looks like CM Punk against Roman Reigns, Stephanie Valker versus Liv Morgan as the only two matches announced so far. I guess Punk versus Reigns is the main interesting one. I'm not really interested in the girls match. Apparently the other match and again, is this really worthy of a 2-night WrestleMania this year? I guess if they can make the money, why not? But it seems like a really lackluster WrestleMania this year, because it looks like the other match is likely going to be Cody Rhodes against Drew McIntyre, or Cody Rhodes against Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. And I just truly, honestly don't believe that this year's WrestleMania is worth 2 nights. A lot of people are complaining about the amount of unskippable commercials on Netflix. And I mean, I have Netflix too, and the reason you subscribe to Netflix is to not have to watch the commercials, just like how I get YouTube Premium. I don't like watching the commercials. I feel it's a waste of my life to sit through commercials. But with WWE programming on Netflix, you can't fast forward through the commercials. So there's a lot of complaints about that. Apparently, Cody Rhodes is planning on continuing wrestling for a while, and for whatever reason, he could see himself as one of the people that would take over from Triple H in creative. I don't know how much experience Cody Rhodes has as creative. I do know he's one of the more boring promos and flat characters to me. But again, I think you could argue that WWE is at one of its lowest points in creativity in its history at this time. I mean, they're setting records, but they have more money from other sources than ever. TKO has been great about getting sponsorships. Now everything's corporate, logos everywhere. Even if a table breaks, well, you know that was planned because there's 2 Slim Jim perfectly placed logos right around where the table breaks. And they get hundreds of millions from Saudi Arabia every year that never existed in the past. So it is a bit deceiving. And they also monetize like their old footage more than ever than in the past. So yes, it is making more money than ever, but wrestling, I'm telling you, is less popular per capita than ever. There used to be over 30 territories in the US. Now the only places really you could work full-time in the US is WWE or AEW. Because TNA, you're only wrestling maybe 3 or 4 times a month. And from what I understand, they do not pay very well. The Hardys are probably their highest paid wrestlers. So they have to supplement with other jobs. So, I mean, as far as if you're lucky enough to have a job these days, in wrestling. It's great, but there's less jobs than ever. That's the true fact of it. Apparently, speaking of TNA, they have an upcoming show in College Park, Georgia. About 1,000 tickets out. Their Sacrifice pay-per-view in New Orleans has 678 tickets out. Then their TV taping in New Orleans the next night, 384 tickets out. One thing I don't understand about TNA, and it's probably a budget thing, they always go to the same place a couple times in a row, sometimes more than a couple times in a row. And I know they do that as a cost savings, but you would get fresher and hotter crowds to just move to a different town. But I can only assume that's not in the budget because obviously Bill Watts used to have a whole territory around Louisiana and Oklahoma and stuff. There's lots of towns you could run around there rather than just run New Orleans a couple days in a row. Happy to hear that Davey Boy Smith Jr., his father's Hall of Fame ring was retrieved. I guess it was stolen during a wrestling event for CWE Canada, which is a company that does shows in very rural places. Someone broke into the car or the van where everyone's bags were, and his ring was in one of the bags. I guess the same guy tried to pawn it off where it was identified as a stolen ring, so they were able to retrieve it. So that's good. As far as UFC Fight Night, February 21st in Houston, 17,160 fans in attendance. I do air some JCW footage on this channel, and a lot of people don't like Vince Russo's booking style. A lot of people do. He definitely has his audience. Some people don't like the ring rat character he's created and find that it's degrading. And all I'll say about that is wrestling is supposed to be acting. You're just playing a role. So what, in movies you can play any type of role, including degrading characters, but in wrestling, no, wrestling is held to a different standard. Why? I don't get that. Just like when people freak out when a gun or knife is used in wrestling. Like Tank Abbott pulled the knife in WCW. It was the end of the world. Why? Everybody knows it's fake. You say they're actors all the time. You have a whole show showing that every single punch, every single kick is pre-planned by the producers who are on headsets in the back talking to the referee, passing messages, and you get in trouble if you don't do stuff that they tell you to do if you don't do it. So why should we be so offended if someone has to play a degrading character in a wrestling storyline? At least that person has a job. I've done acting jobs that I just did for the money, and I didn't particularly like to do the character either. But that's just my thoughts on it. I don't think... You see, they're not allowed in the Actors Union, but they call themselves the longest running TV show in history, I think, for Raw. Episodic TV show in history. So and everything's scripted. You're not allowed to go off script. How is that not an acting job? I just don't get it. So I don't get it. It's fully admitted that it's fake now. You can't even stand up with a lot of the stuff that happens now and try and defend it. So why do we still have to pretend that, it's wrestling, we can't do certain things, even though wrestling is also acting? Vince should have kept WCW going. I don't know if WCW was Vince Russo's best work. And I think there was a lot of issues in WCW at the time. I really hated those last few years of WCW. I even liked, and I was a kid, but I liked the early 90s era of WCW. I think it was underrated. I could go back and watch WCW Power Hour 91, 92 and be entertained. Did I ever take a poop so large? Oh my God, I think I must have, and I don't care. Hey, if you're gay and you find me attractive, great. I'll take any viewer, but I don't think one podcast goes by where someone doesn't accuse me of being gay lately. So whatever. Vince Russo has heat for sure, but he actually wasn't in charge of WCW when it died. There's a lot of excuses. The bottom line is it wasn't making money. I think if it was making money, it still would have been around. Have I ever beat it to Tori Wilson? No, I have not. I've met her a couple of times. She's not really my type. She's too plasticky looking. Just like Trish. I mean, they're attractive, but I'm not attractive to that plasticky look for whatever reason. But there you go. Someone agrees with me that those mid-90s WCW cards were everything. Definitely, guys. Well, if more news pops up, I'll check in with you later. Thanks for your comments.